Yes, welcome back to Chosen, discovering the life of our true parents and their impact on the world. Thanks for being with us. Really glad you made it. We are here on a 21-day journey, 21 episode docuseries exploring the lives of our true parents who are without a doubt the most godlike couple of all time. If you've never heard about true parents before, don't worry, stick with us. Over the next few days, you'll find out all you need to know. Yesterday's show, we came back home to the United States for a fantastic overview of some of the key points of the American Providence by our very own Continental Chairman, Dr. Ki-Hoon Kim. Wasn't that wonderful? I got so much great feedback from yesterday's program. Thank you, Dr. Kim, as well as Reverend and Mrs. Busing for making it a wonderful time together. Heartwarming stories. I still have this image of mother sitting on the couch giving father a head massage, moments before going on stage to give a speech. Again, just bringing us closer to true parents with each episode. By the way, to those watching who missed something yesterday or any of the episodes so far, don't worry. You can sign up for lifetime access to the full 21 episode series plus a growing library of content to die for. Amazing stuff, incredible bundle, the whole Chosen treasure box. You're going to want to get it. Just click the link below. And now it's time for our featured story.
All right, and back to Damien in 3, 2, 1. All right, live.
Until now, we've been focusing on true parents' worldwide providence with special attention to each continent and major key nation. What's coming up next, you say? Soon, we're going to be diving a little deeper into those early years in America. In fact, we'll be hearing from Neil Salonen, who was right there at the heart of the campaign to forgive President Nixon and repent as a nation. We're going to be covering topics like the early missionaries and their experience to America. We're going to be going deeper and deeper into true parents' incredible, death-defying fight against God-denying communism. We'll be hearing from Dr. Ward, Reverend Jack Corley, and others. We're going to be showing you some footage from North Korea I know you've never seen. We're going deeper into the unique journey with Christianity here in America, and we'll be hearing from all of our greats. We're going to be diving into Ocean Church, Pacific Rim, Mother's recent role in the Providence, plus too many exciting topics to get into now. With a growing audience around the world, we're also gearing up for some surprise guests on the program. But today, we are going to talk about the blessing, and it's timely to do so. You remember that we opened the series with true parents' origin story in Korea and their unbreakable, inseparable connection, Jesus Christ and Christianity. We got close to the time of their engagement ceremony and their marriage in 1960. And so that is where our story picks up today. The search for love is relentless, which is why every song on the radio is about love. We understand God to be completely unselfish, giving all for his children. So what if our reasons for seeking love and marriage were also motivated by a godly desire to live for the sake of others? And not only that, but by an understanding that intermarriage between races and nations and religious traditions is a faster track to a more harmonious world. And so we marry motivated by a search for the truest, purest love, the love that resembles God. Moments ago, we met with Dr. Jenkins, as well as Betsy and Farley Jones. You're going to love this episode. Today's feature is titled, We Marry to Resemble God. Please enjoy.
God was seeking to bless Father and Mother Moon to stand as the first couple that could be standing as the true parents substantially. Jesus and the Holy Spirit stand as true parents spiritually. But that's why the physical and spiritual must come together as one. That's why Paul says in Romans that, now I delight in the law of God with my mind, but who will deliver me from this body of death? And even though I seek to do God's will, I have another part of me that's warring against me. My body is warring against my mind. So that's why even Paul, born again, still had this problem, and we've all shared this problem through history, that our flesh still, it goes the way of sin. Finally, Paul said in Romans chapter 7 that, so with my mind I serve the law of God, but with my body I serve the law of sin. This is a born-again Christian, one of the most famous Christians in our biblical history. And he's born in a situation where, or he's in a situation after he's born again, that he still has the problem of serving sin with the body. Well, that's what the blessing's all about. The blessing is to take away that claim. The blessing actually comes through 3 stages. The first is the holy wine. The second is the blessing itself. And the third is a 3-day ceremony. So by sharing 1 cup, just as Jesus gave us the communion 2,000 years ago, he said, this is my blood. Well, he didn't mean it's literally his blood, but spiritually, you bind to Jesus through that communion, and we remember him. That's why one time I asked Father Moon, isn't this directly an extension of the whole history of Jesus when he gave the disciples the wine at the Last Supper? And he said, yes, it's exactly an extension of that, but now it's going to the couple. The holy wine is shared with 1 cup. When the couples are blessed, 1 cup. First, the wife drinks, because Eve was the one that followed the archangel's direction. And then, so she has to be the first to come back to God's side. And then she shares her cup with her husband, and they drink from the same cup. So this is actually a change of lineage. It's a very profound step in history. And therefore, when the couples are blessed, and then they consummate their marriage in the 3-day ceremony, then we're actually standing in God's lineage and standing with God's blessing. Now imagine what it was like when the forces of evil know that without Jesus and the feminine counterpart being substantial on the earth and giving substantial marriage blessings, then there's no way to break this curse of the fact that when couples come together, they give birth to their children, and there's still that problem of, like Paul said, there's a problem of the flesh. How do we break that curse? And when you think that the dark side knew that if true parents are married and blessed by God, without that claim, and they are standing together as the only begotten son and only begotten daughter, this is a profoundly, history-changing moment in God's providence. It's a very central moment since Jesus, or the most significant moment in history. That's why the story of True Parents' blessing in 1960 at the Chumpadong Church, which had on the door the Holy Spirit Association for the Unification of World Christianity. That history is very turbulent. The day before the blessing, the Home Ministry Office, based on some false reports from other Christian churches that some kind of strange activity was going on, they arrested Father on April 10th, 1960. They interrogated him all day. And finally, it was a miracle. He was released at 11 o'clock at night. Father announced that the blessing would come. And as we shared on our session with True Mother about Mother's meeting with Father, she felt the call of God. And she remembered the verse in the Bible when Jacob was given the promise of God that your descendants shall be like the sands of the seas. She remembered clearly. And she told God with all her heart, I will be the mother to stand up as the only begotten daughter and stand with True Father to engraft all humanity to God's lineage. She understood that at that very time. And that's why the storm was raging When Father announced the blessing, he also gave tickets with his own seal, and over 300 people came to the blessing. One of the 36 couples shared in testimony that when the blessing was going on, there were people trying to break in and stop it. There were police. There was all kinds of commotion and just an incredible storm, atmosphere of absolute turbulence, and Satan was trying to destroy the blessing. But then once the blessing occurred, everything became calm. So that's why the blessing of true parents, we can't even begin to understand the whole meaning of it. Actually, right before the blessing, Father and Mother, who were engaged, came down the stairs, and the congregation sang Song of the Blessing. And it was so beautiful. Pure new life that once was sown within the garden's fertile soil. So beautiful, beautiful song of blessing. Blessing's all about love. That's why I've been blessed since 1982. My wife, Reiko, and I share this love. This love is profound. I want to testify. It gets better and better as you go forward. So true parents came down. There's a storm outside of people, of turbulence, of police trying to stop the blessing. And then suddenly they're blessed, and it's all peaceful. It's a celebration. Father and Mother were blessed in a Western wedding attire. And then they had a meal, and then they went and changed into traditional Korean wedding attire. So the blessing represents East and West, North and South. All humanity is blessed.
Father want to exemplify that kind of personality himself.
가정은 죽어질 수 있는 자리에서 살아나고 겨울이 붙어서 살았다 하는 겁니다.
Again, men and women, men and women in Unification Church got together so tough, tough at the same time, so united, so enduring. Hang on to it so that no power under the sun can separate them. That's the kind of family will win.
세상 사람 볼 때는 천만 만건 열단 천개만 됐었는데 저러면서 살고요.
And the ordinary cases, in the worldwide standard, in the secular world standard, boy, that couple is impossible to remain as a husband and wife. In an ordinary case, they could have write down the, divorce, shall we say, divorce, ultimatum 1,000 times, but they still go on. Amazing. People just respect and just couldn't figure out. That's the Unification Church patience. That kind of husband and man and woman, husband and wife, shall initiate the most beautiful part of the human tradition in terms of the family, structure of the heaven. That kind of patience will become a building block of heaven. Do you follow? Yeah? Do you understand? Yes or no?
이 거울을 맞추는 알더라고.
Now you know.
자, 그러면 맞추는데 쉬우려면 어떻게 되느냐 이야? 양.
맞추기 쉬우려면요. 예.
우리 양보해.
So in order to fit perfectly, what is the virtue? One virtue will do it. Yield it. Yield to others. You just yielding each other. Then there's no way of friction. There's always perfect harmony. Also, mutually respect each other. Respect. There's no separation. That's simple. And our principle is always simple. You follow. Do you know? Yes or no?
결혼이 얼마나 힘드니? 보라고. 하나님이 지금 아주 천지천도 앞에 얼마나 힘들고 법규어서 얼마나 힘든데 여자 하나 찾지 못해서 이렇게 수술을.
The marriage, how difficult that is to consummate, how difficult that is to be perfected. Think of it. God created His infinite energy, in His infinite energy universe, heaven and earth, all things of creation, men and women. But ultimately, since God has not yet been obtained one perfect woman, the entire history remains imperfect. Today, that is showing how much is one marriage is so difficult to consummate.
인간의 사랑이야 하나님의 사랑까지는 거기서 그냥 그러고 거기 해서 내가 치료하고 있는 생활이 완전 하는 거죠.
So marriage life is really the consummation of beauty, and it is really manifestation of heavenly ideal in a living way, everyday way of life. That's the marriage life. That's the married life. So you got to be serious and be really, really cautious of approaching. So once you make a slip, make a mistake, the destiny of the heaven and earth will shamble, will be shifted. You know the fall of man, principle, fall of man. So how we can leave behind us the pure tradition. That is our mandate. God doesn't see what kind of race you are, white or yellow or black. God doesn't see. God sees one thing. Who is going to leave behind you? The pure tradition of God.
선생님 말씀은 알았죠? 오늘 무슨 말씀인지?
You follow Father, yes or no?
자, 그렇게 한번 살아볼 거야?
Would you undertake such a formidable task? Would you meet this challenge? Yes or no? Those who wish to match what the either black or oriental, other international marriage, raise hand, please. Only white. No, I'm asking. Father's asking only white. Among the white.
Father and mother are not at all narrow-minded about the blessing. It has to be going to everyone. It has all people should come into the lineage of God. And what the beautiful thing is there is that also father and mother really want to see all things in history resolved through love. True love is the essence of the blessing. So that's why true love between races. So when we had our matching in the Madison Square Garden time in 1979 for my wife and I in the New Yorker Hotel, it was an amazing history there about Father bringing black and white together. At that time, the first thing he did was he brought our prominent black leaders forward who were members of the unification movement. And he brought them forward and he spent a long time talking with them and asking who would like to have an interracial blessing. And then when some sisters came forward, white brothers and white sisters with black sisters, black brothers, it was really, really something. Father talked to all of them so carefully. And that historic blessing, it just brings tears to my eyes when I think about that. Those couples came together and they overcame so many things, and they represented all this sad history of division. But the blessing can do that. When you see the beautiful children, it's amazing. When I see the African brothers and sisters who have had international blessings beyond race and see their children are so amazing. Asians and Africans, white Europeans and Africans, and every race joining together. It's so beautiful. It's an amazing phenomenon. And that's why we have hope that we will overcome racism. We will overcome hatred, but it won't come about unless we're all family. We can't be family unless we're relatives. So we need to be blessed together.
In February 1969, Reverend Moon chooses 13 American couples for the first ever marriage blessing outside Korea. The quiet ceremony takes place at a newly acquired residence on Upshur Street in Washington, D.C.
The holy wine experience was very powerful for me because we were crowded in this room, and 13 couples in our white robes. In fact, one sister fainted because it was such a close, intense thing. But what Father had us do, Mother would give Father the holy wine, and then Father would give it to the bride, to me, and then I was to give it to my husband. But I think at some point in there he prayed, and what we did, he had us hold out our hands in front of us, and he put his hand on top of our hands, and then he prayed. And when he did this, I just felt this tremendous energy flowing from Father. It was very powerful. Shortly after that, we had the wedding, the blessing ceremony. And it's kind of interesting because when we lined up, Philip and Vivian Burley were at the front because he was the president, and then the oldest members, the husband, back. And so we were lined up, and I remember Edwin didn't come, and he didn't come, and he didn't come, and I thought, oh my gosh, did he have second thoughts? I mean, this is crazy, but he was a little bit late because he told me later he had gone out and got hair dye, and he was dyeing his hair like Father told him to do. Anyway, the blessings started in this cramped little rooms there at Upshur House. We walked up one at a time. We took our 7 steps and bowed, 7 steps and bowed, 7 steps and bowed, and then 1 step to greet right in front of True Parents, where they gave us the holy water.
I was actually doing the filming on my little Super 8 camera, and as they're going through the blessing, Father, Mother, Spirit, Holy Water, but I had to move my eyes away from the lens and look and stare and what has happened. And the plate that was holding the holy water, it was all pearls. There was a plate of beautiful pearls. And then Father and Mother were taking each pearl and putting it on the head. We're putting on the head of each person. And then we went back and took our places. And then when Father prayed, I remember I had my arm through Edwin's arm, and all I could feel during the prayer was Edwin's teardrops hitting my glove. And that was really moving.
Father came, conducted the first blessing of couples in Washington, D.C. It was very, very moving. Even though it was a small ceremony, I knew on that day that the world had changed forever for America. Because for the first time, even in that, you could almost say, symbolic way, God put his foot in the people who were walking on the ground. It was really, really moving. I cried. I wasn't part of it. I cried and cried that night, and then the next year, in 1970, we went.
We were able to go to the October 21st, 1970 marriage ceremony or blessing. And so that was an exciting experience for us to be able to go all the way the other side of the world, be in this gigantic blessing ceremony. We were particularly unique because all of the men from the Western world were quite tall. And I was given the directive to lead the procession out by carrying the American flag.
One of the most memorable things was that Father met individually with each of us and discussed. He had an interview with Father. And so he looked at my picture and he looked at Hugh's picture. And then he said to me, if you ever lose his love, it will be very hard to regain it. It scared me. I thought, oh my goodness. But he told me what kind of person I am and what kind of person he is. And then he just said, if you ever lose his love, it will be hard to regain it. It was quite an experience to actually get married in another country with all these people who weren't, people that you knew at all. And yet to share such a very sacred and such a precious moment together. And of course, it's so typical of our church because we share these moments with people that we don't even know, but we have this deep, deep experience with each other that makes us, kind of bonds us forever.
The day came for the wedding, and just to hear, it was in a large gymnasium, and to hear, here comes the bride, hundreds of times as all 777 couples came in, and to see True Parents presiding in this ceremony where over 30 countries were represented between the European members and the Japanese and Korean members. And the sign on the wall behind us said, "World Peace through Ideal Families." And I felt so happy and proud to be in that number and to feel somehow together we were not being married privately, but publicly we were declaring to be ideal families for world peace. Came out of the ceremony, so many people came up to welcome us and congratulate us from all over the world. And even Time magazine was interviewing us going down the aisle. And but the beautiful thing was the Korean church had prepared a small card for each couple with our names on it and a wedding cake. So when we came out, we sat on a bus where each couple received this personal card that had a flower in it or a leaf from True Parents' 1960 wedding ceremony, as well as a wedding cake. So everything was done so personally. Even Mother wanted to prepare rings for each person. So she came around and she measured our fingers with her ring. So somebody took notes and said, this Betsy's ring is bigger than Mother's. Nora's ring is smaller than Mother's. And that's how we were measured for our first rings. And then Mother also prepared to have someone prepare a white chimichurris for all of us. So we felt so cared for and proud to have our Korean wedding dresses.
My parents were divorced. My father left the household when I was young. He met with my brother and me in our bedroom and told us he was leaving. It was heartbreaking for me. And so then going into my teenage years and into college years and early adulthood, I knew I wanted to have a successful marriage. I didn't want my children, whatever children I had, to experience what I had experienced. And yet I had no confidence, none whatsoever, that I could avoid my father's fate, or my fate in relation to my father. That I could be the father that he had not been. Even though my father was in many ways just great to me, this particular dimension of it was very painful. So when I heard chapter 1, that just turned me around. I saw a clear direction for what I most wanted, which was to have a family and a successful family. That's what the blessing has meant to me primarily. Yeah. You know, this year we'll celebrate 50 years. Betsy's been a wonderful partner. But that's the core value for me of this life that we've led together, and what I consider to be the healing effect of God's presence in my life through True Parents, through their teachings, through Betsy. I did not have what it took before I met the divine principle and True Parents. I did not have what it would take to be successful in marriage. I got that. Hasn't been easy, as I'm sure everyone here can appreciate, and everyone knows. It hasn't been easy for Betsy.
I got a story.
But that to me is the heart of True Parents' work. to bring this kind of, not, in the course of working toward building the true world, to open an avenue for God's healing love to touch people. Yeah.
I think we all have things we bring, and we know we can make some other person happy. I was aware that I had something to bring to this marriage, and I look forward to it so much. And yet, when I was a little girl, like 4, even though my family was a very wonderful, religious, Catholic family, everything, a lot of people thought well of our family, still there was some difficulty that we had. There was some drinking, and then some you might want to say some touching, of inappropriate touching that went on in my case. And so I felt something like that hurt me, or created a kind of hurt where like when I was growing up, I didn't want to show myself if it's time to get a bra. I wanted something that made me flat, because I was afraid of people showing attention to me like that. So that's the part that was like Charlie brought his divorce, and he never saw like committed parents. Whereas I saw parents who had a 50th wedding anniversary and were dancing around. So I was clear about the commitment. But this part, I feel like God knew the whole story, and I feel he blessed me to someone like Farley and gave me 2 parents as my model. And I have to say both of them encouraged me all through our life. Even one time when people thought some difficult things about Farley, because whatever he was going through after being the president, and Mother came up to me directly and said, "Your husband is a good man." And that's all I needed to hear, because I believed in him, and it didn't matter at that time whether we were popular or unpopular, that kind of thing. But I also think, through in high school, I remember they had a nickname, Frosty, for me. The boys did, that kind of person. And so, even though I wasn't this perfect person before I came to the church, I just feel like Farley's masculinity and his need for me as a woman brought out this femininity and happiness to be just who I am. So this kind of healing took place because of 2 parents modeling this for us. Love your enemy, and even though you have these differences, we had to work at it. But I have to tell one little story that because of this hurt, sometimes if he would look at me cross-eyed or be critical, I could get so mad. I used to think, well, it's Ireland and England, right? But then later I learned it was probably this sensitivity that I have, that I can't take criticism. But anyway, because he was the president, at one point, Miss Kim suggested that I go serve tea to Father and Mother. And so I didn't know what was going to happen. I go in with the tea, and they were looking at me with so much love, both of them, that I wasn't afraid at all. What were they going to say? And they said something about, "I understand you're fighting with your husband, you and your husband fight somehow." And I knew this anger would come out of me sometimes, like the old Irish crazy lady that would just let somebody have it if they stepped on their toes. And so anyway, Father talked to me a lot about, what is it that you fight about? And at first I was going to say, well, he's like this or like that. But I was standing in front of truth. And so the truth came out. I said, I guess I want him to be more like me, which is more concerned about the marriage. And he was so concerned about the mission. I was confused. What kind of marriage is this if we don't have any? We never went to a movie or we ever do anything like that. And so Father really was great with me. He laughed. He said, Betsy, that's right. That's like all couples. You have to embraced Farley's personality. He's 50%, you're 50%. And I realized in front of father and mother, they really liked both of us the way we were. I wasn't supposed to be just like him, and he wasn't supposed to be just like me, but I needed that guidance. And then eventually he said to me, you know, Bessie, a man, if he gets hurt by a woman's anger, they will leave after a point. And he said, women will come back and take more. But a man, after a point, you know, he kind of warned me to be careful. And then he tried to give me a vision. Like he said, would you like a beautiful home in the spirit world where there'd be mountains and sunsets and a beautiful home? And I said, yeah, that sounds great, you know. He said, well, you have to give up part of your life on earth for that. And then I understood more that maybe just the way my husband is the right way, and I'm actually wrong. So that guidance gave me such a chance to be more successful at this marriage. So I went upstairs and I was looking for him, and I was going to apologize, but he was sleeping, and I looked down at him, and I just stood over him, and I repented for my anger and where it came from, and he had to take all this, and I'm sorry. And, you know, he never woke up, but I was different because I realized what he was doing in unity with two parents was better than my version of what a couple is supposed to be. And I changed after that. And so that's what I'm saying. True parents brought us through some real struggles where, you know, just because they kept modeling the unity between whatever father needed, mother did. You know, at some point he was telling her to go to 21 speaking tour and go to another one and then another one. And she just continued and continued. And I remember the first time she gave her testimony, and nobody had ever heard it before, and she couldn't stop crying. But she said, because of my background and what I grew up with, and now in this big movement, I feel sometimes like a little toy ship on a big ocean. And I understood more about her and what it must have been like for her. But to see her now, you know, how she has stepped up and how she has fulfilled God's dreams and True Father's hopes, taken it to so many new levels. So thank you.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Jenkins, Farley, Betsy, and we had some cameo appearances from Neil, Marie, Hugh, Nora, and Jeanette, and others. That was so moving, so amazing. Your reflections on the restorational and healing power of the marriage blessing really hit the spot and very timely. Thank you all so much. You know, in the clip where Father was teaching with Bohi Pak translating beside, that was the 1979 matching. And I watched the whole clip, and I realized, you know, actually this is really the best blessing education. We have full videos of True Father guiding our couples. And while the time in the providence may have been different in some way then, the teaching that he gives us to grow into our marriage is eternal. And the points he was making on that day were, you know, don't expect to fall in love in one day. Don't expect to understand everything about the other one in 1 week. In fact, enjoy the mystery. Enjoy the difference, unique difference, maybe stark difference. Let that be that mystery, let that pull you on a course, coming closer and closer and more intoxicated with one another. And like we heard in the testimonies, you know, sometimes we might think that the other person has to be like me or vice versa, but Oh my gosh, true God and true parents, they know what they're doing when they bring people together. And so especially the points that Dr. Jenkins was making about healing history and bringing enemy nations together, bringing races together. And when we think about our second and third generation, our blessed children, from this perspective, I hope that especially there's young members watching today that can understand, as we look along the landscape for answers to today's problems, honestly, the answer to today's problem is right in front of you in the mirror. You know, true parents are the answer. The marriage blessing and the teachings is the answer. Our blessed families are the answer. But when you consider the blessed children, you are literally the fruit of everything, the physical and spiritual, substantial fruit of everything that true parents are longing to reveal to us and show us. So those are the incredible blessings and responsibilities that we've been given. So thank you all so much for those that have contributed so far. There's some very special people coming up. But first, a reminder, I know many of you are already chatting away. It means a lot. Your notes, this is part of the live experience. This is happening right now. So anything that you put in the chat box, we will share with our contributors. They can see it live happening right now. But it lets us know how you're doing and how we're doing to really serve you and try and bring the heart and spirit of true parents into your home, into your heart, deeper and deeper each day. So please comment, offer your love, and you may make the special comment feature at the end. And of course, every comment matters. We only have time for a few. So now we have two wonderful, wonderful couples that are going to come on the program. So are you ready? Are you ready? You have no idea who we're bringing on. Let's get ready to welcome our special guests. Okay, welcome to the show. Today we have Dr. Luan and Marie Rouse, who were married in June 2010 and blessed in October 2010. That was the 10-10-10 blessing. And Dr. Rouse, as we know, most of us, is the national co-chair of the American Clergy Leadership Conference. Welcome to the show. You both look gorgeous. And we also have with us Isaac and Marina Hernandez, blessed just recently, fresh in 2018. Isaac is currently serving as the Secretary General to Subregion 4, working together with Reverend John Jackson down there. Thank you guys for coming on the program. How are you all doing?
Great.
Doing great.
So Dr. Rouse, I heard you first saw the blessing ceremony a few years before you yourself received it. Tell us what the first experience was like for you when you were witnessing the blessing the first time.
Actually, in January of 2009, Bruce Grodner, who had been studying with me at Unification Theological Seminary, decided that his professor needed a grand experience. And I went thinking just that I was going for an experience. I was thinking of the blessing as being something that was being of convenience to have a large group of people. And oh, how wrong I was. I sat there, a special place they arranged for me. And when it happened, it unfolded before my eyes, it became a very spiritual experience. I began to text Marie. And so I'm calling you as soon as I get out of here. And indeed I did. I had to tell her, it felt like heaven in there.
Yeah. So you had a taste. And then you started working on Marie to get her primed, right?
Working on her.
You know, I didn't know to prime her because I actually thought that you could only go through it if you was unificationist at that time.
yeah.
I didn't know much about ACLC at the time, and Bruce didn't tell me any different. So I was thinking, okay, only unification can do it, but Bruce wants me to experience because I've been a pretty good professor, and he wants me to know a little more.
So you got your attention. Marie, if you would tell us a little bit about how you received this. I know that you're both close friends with Dr. Jenkins, who we were just listening from, and he planted a seed also for you both to receive the holy marriage blessing. And a few months later, you were blessed in October of 2010, like we mentioned. Could you share how you felt with God's love and what transformation in particular you felt receiving the blessing?
Well, when we were married at Trinity in New York, I was so happy to see. That was the first time I'd actually met Rayco. And
that's right. You've heard about them.
I'd heard about them plenty. I love them both so very much. But it was so wonderful having them, and she was talking to me a little bit about it. And then when we were blessed, we talked a lot when we got home. Remember, honey?
Right.
And then, I don't know, the more we talked about it, the more we got into it, we heard a lot of, we had forums about stuff. I don't know. When I had the blessing, my life changed. And I'm going to tell you how.
Oh.
Because before, okay, you know, I was a wounded woman coming into this marriage. I mean, wounded. My spirit was hurt. I felt worthless. I had no self-esteem. My whole life was just pleasing anyone I can to try to please myself. I was a wreck inside, but he didn't know I was such a wreck because I would never share that with him. But after the blessing, and I read and I researched and we talked and I listened to others, my life changed and I was able to release all of that. Every bit of it was released to God, and I was able to really see true parents as a role model for me. And it was magnificent. And I just am so grateful. And we're great.
God bless you.
We have been great for a long time.
You are a beautiful couple, kissed by God. I think we can all tell. And I know there's much more detail to your story. So for all of you who have not yet heard their full story, I encourage you to reach out. They are an incredible example of a brother, a sister, and not just a married couple, but you really wear the blessing well, guys. You wear the blessing well, and you're great spokespeople for true parents because of it. You know, Dr. Rouse, I know you've been in the business of marriages and prepping people for marriages for years. You are a deep-hearted man. You're a healer. You're a natural healer. I say that all the time. We're healed just to hear your voice most of the time. And I know that you counseled many couples before their marriages to prepare them for their future marriages. In all of those experiences, could you tell us what you see as the difference between marriage and blessing?
Yes. You know, couples would come off emotions, emotional intimacy, emotional honesty, and some would come with great intentions and integrity, wanting to stay married, but not really knowing what that meant. And therefore, the struggle would always remain because they were bringing themselves and asking for the preacher to represent God and ask God for a favor, do a favor for them.
Right. That's almost receiving.
That's right. You know, but with the blessing, and now I'm able to share with people, it's spiritual. It's going back to the original intention of God. It's not just about Jesus at Cana of Galilee, blessing a wedding, somewhat hesitantly, because of mother asking, again, emotional situation. It is about what God designed for male and female from the beginning. And because God desired for us to be one forever, we can be through this blessing. It's spiritual.
Amen.
God bless you. Isaac, we're going to move on to you. You're a beautiful couple now too. You know, I know that you, Isaac, really respect your parents. You saw the love that they had. You saw them modeling something perhaps that you recognized as unique, something that you wanted. as a second generation, someone born and raised in this community, could you share, how did you come to understand the value of the blessing?
Well, I grew up in a large family. I have 5 siblings. So our house was very hectic and chaotic. And my parents, my mom speaks Japanese, my dad speaks English. So there were definitely challenges, like any family. But my parents did such a great job of always putting God's love and...
Wait, by that you mean your dad speaks English, your wife speaks Japanese, and you also mean, not your wife, your mom. So your mom speaks Japanese, but she doesn't speak English.
She's okay now. But,
and your father speaks English but doesn't speak Japanese.
Right, he's learned a little bit over the years, but still
so
tough.
How did you communicate?
Yeah, over time, I guess they got better at each other's language. But even now, there's still difficulty there.
Yeah.
But somehow they also, on top of showing the example of God's love and parents' teaching, it was so easy for me to also see joy in their relationship, which I think we were really fortunate to have that. And because of that example, to me, that was what the blessing was. A man and a woman committing to centering on God's love, centering on true parents' teachings, and also to have joy in their relationship and in their family. So from a pretty early age, I felt that was something that I wanted also for my married life and for my family.
How old were you when you really felt, yeah, I'm going to do it?
I'm not sure, but even now my parents are very sweet with each other. So from a young age, it was
natural. That's
it was natural. Mm-hmm.
Well, you do have wonderful parents. So Marina, how about you? I know that you also came to understand the significance of your parents' marriage, right? And commitment as a second generation. Tell us how you came to the realization.
Yeah, so I'm an only child, so it wasn't too hectic. It's pretty quiet. But at some point, I remember observing my parents a little bit more, and I noticed pretty early on how challenging it was. And so I was kind of confused, I was watching these movies that, where people kind of fall in love and then they'd get married. I was like, that's not my parents. So I was wondering, if it's so hard, why are they trying so hard and for so long? And then little by little, I started to, see this connection between my parents, true parents, and God. And I started to see that, I realized, they're blessed. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? And I think it was just a gradual understanding of, wow, they really do believe in this dream that true parents have revealed, and their actions show it. And I really started to respect my parents and realized that their love was a lot deeper than what I thought love was. And I started to believe in the dream as well, and realized that's what I want. And getting blessed, I can do that. I can continue that, I guess.
Well, you're a beautiful couple, and it looks like you both made the right choice. And it's interesting because, again, in that segment that Father was talking about, he was also mentioning it's about the commitment, and that's the difference between a couple from our community versus a couple that doesn't factor the blessing or get involved in the marriage blessing. And he mentioned that in 1979. I'm sure many times that he prophesied, that's the difference. It's not that it's easier. In fact, he was even making it in a sense harder for many of the first generation couples by bringing such extreme opposites together. But he said that the difference will be the commitment to keep going, to keep going. And unfortunately, Hollywood still doesn't make movies about that. And Disney doesn't make movies about that. But these are the actual movies that need to be made. This is where the learning happens. The honeymoon is short-lived. So, really, thank you for sharing. One of you from a large family, one of you from a smaller family, but you're both beautiful couples. Isaac, I got another question for you, and you and Marina both. I mean, as a young second-gen couple, I know that Mother is asking you to go to Korea, right? Asking the blessed children to participate in the cosmic blessing in Korea, which is, of course, an incredible opportunity because Mother is still here with us and is conducting the blessing personally. But I can also imagine, you know, at the human level, it's like, wait, I want to get married, you know, next month, you know, with my friends and family here. Why do I wait and travel so far, and it's expensive? So I can imagine that one might think, I don't want to be just in a big room with thousands of people. I want a more personal experience. But like your parents, you were, you know, blessed in a stadium full of people. So how was that experience for your couple?
Yeah, it was actually, we really enjoyed it. We had a great time. Yeah, I did have that similar idea, you know, wondering if it's going to feel special being there. For us, there were 3,000 other couples in the stadium. You know, how would it feel? Would it feel like an individual special experience? But what happened for me was, you know, True read the vows, and then right after True prayed. And when she was praying, it felt like she was praying just for me and just for our couple and just for our future family. And so in that moment, it felt like it was just, you know, just me and Marina in the stadium with Mother.
Very personal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a similar experience. I remember that feeling. And it's a moment, you know, with God. But I can also recognize from, I imagine, Mother's point of view, she really wants to make God happy. And, you know, seeing all of you gathered there together and the world to see, it's an incredible spectacle of beauty, of heaven's hand at work. Like Dr. Rouse earlier was saying, you know, he thought it's for convenience, right? When he was looking from the outside at these mass weddings.
Right.
But it really isn't about convenience. It's an incredible, incredible experience. So thank you so much for coming on. I think the Dr. and Marie Rouse, we lost their internet connection, so they're not with us. But thank you, Luan and Marie and Isaac, Marina. You're all beautiful. Thank you for being a part of this program and sharing with us about how we resemble God through the blessing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, I want to, you know, remind everyone, you can make a note of appreciation. You can, you know, let the couples know if you were touched by something they shared. And with that, I'd like to again thank you guys. Please stay safe, and we'll see you again soon. And for now, wrapping up the show, we're going to get to the featured comments, and we have a few because this has been an incredibly moving program. And so it's time to hear from our live studio audience. Okay, let's see what we got from our studio audience today. First from Mary. Mary says, so moving to remember our sincere hearts as we pledged to our true parents that we were ready to be matched and blessed to our enemy in order to accelerate the restoration of the world and to liberate our Heavenly Parents' grieving heart. Thank you for this beautiful chosen session. Thank you, Mary. Next, we have something from Barbara. Barbara, true parents gave me the most invaluable gift of all time. I was not qualified nor deserved it, but on the foundation of my true parents, I received this blessing, which was Jesus. Oh, this blessing which Jesus, who was eminently qualified, but unfortunately unable to achieve in his lifetime. Only because of the merit of the age was I able to receive this gift. Thank you, Barbara. From Mark, I have been deeply moved by today's episode centering on the blessing, sometimes wailing out loud with gratitude. This is our Heavenly Parents' most profound intention and hope for mankind and for each one of us. Our true parents' legacy is each one of us, each one of our couples' stories, trials and victories, and the healing we bring to this world and to the spirit world. We cannot imagine how precious our blessed lives are. Thank you, Mark. And finally, from Sarah, hearing about the blessing directly from true parents is so beautiful and inspiring. It makes me appreciate my parents and what I have to look forward to in my future. Beautiful. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you all for those wonderful comments. There's so many amazing comments. That was just a few. I want to make sure some of you still have time to get for your supper, your dinner, or your afternoon tea, depending on your time zone. I want to go real quick to the village square and find out what all the young people are talking about today. Again, motherofpeace.com, you know what we're talking about. This is where you can make your pledge. You're actually putting your name on Mother's list, okay? We're giving this list of names to Mother. And this really, actually it's practical too for us to really be able to help distribute and order our print. But more than that, it's internal. This is a really wonderful act of faith, and substantially it's a way to prepare your gifts of true mothers, blood, sweat, and tears on the pages of these books. I'm telling you, honestly, every page I turn, I'm in tears. This is the answer to so many of our questions and concerns about today's environment. It really is. And for you who feel called, either in response to Mother's memoir or in response to the Chosen series, if you really have an inspiring love letter to write to True Mama, then write it here. Go to chosenworkshops.com/love letters, and we'll get that translated for you and send it through Dr. Kim with his blessing at the appropriate time. True Mother does pray about you every day, every night. She doesn't sleep. She's worried about all the families around the world. So as most mothers watching the program know, you're always wondering, how are your children doing, right? And so we come to the treasure box. The treasure box, that's where you get all the goodies. You will get access to a special web page that we are building especially for you, that only you will have access to. It'll be all these episodes, everything you've seen so far, and a bunch of stuff you haven't even seen yet, plus all of the bonus material. And the price is $197. But for those of you watching through the duration of this live, we're giving it cheap at $47. Just go to chosenworkshops.com or hit the button below right now. So many have been reaching out to me asking, Damien, how do I want to, this is great. I need to, give to my child or my friend. How can I share it with them? I'm not sure how to share my login. Share your login. You buy a gift card. We have prepared for those of you who want to use not only True Mother's memoir to spread the love, but even the journey of true parents' footsteps around the world and through the providence, through this 21-day docuseries. You can gift this entire series and all of the bonus material that we've been sneak peeking for you. Again, only during this course for the price of $47. And with that,